Hello, and today I'm going to talk about something I've never talked about before, which is YouTube. And I'm doing this because in January 2018, last month, it announced changes to its monetization program by which content creators with small channels will no longer be able to monetize unless they can grow their subscriber base to above 1,000 subscribers with 4,000 hours of view time in the past 12 months. And previously it had been 10,000 channel views at any time. Now, YouTube says that this is a measure to ensure that content is up to YouTube's community standards. Now, personally, I've often complained the lack of standards, but I think it's getting much better. You see, and there's a lot less of the nasty films and the hate ones, and it can't be easy for them to administer something like 50 million active channels. Now, by active channels, that's channels where people are actually putting up material. I tried to find out how many channels there were in total, but I couldn't find the number anywhere. But I believe we're talking of hundreds of millions of channels, which are just then, let's face it, most people just want to watch films. They don't want to put them up themselves. I think one of the problems for YouTube in general is that there's a general misconception that one can make enough money to live and one have sort of a career in YouTube. Now, admittedly, I did buy my last camera with money I got from YouTube, and so that was nice. But you know, I've been on this for a very long time, and another thing is, I certainly couldn't live completely off of the money I get from YouTube, and I do have a rather unusual way of living. That's say living in a van and travelling around Europe with him. Furthermore, as a former business person, I understand that the company can't be sending checks for doing transfers for small amounts to 50 million people, because I mean the horrendous administrative costs would be the only result. Therefore, I think it's up to YouTube to dispel the idea that one can make money from having a channel. In fact, although I haven't done the calculation, I believe that you've got a better chance of winning the lottery. Or maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, or something like that. The chance of making a lot of money is not very high, and you have costs as well. Now, one of the arguments I've heard that not permitting monetization is going to prevent small channels from growing, but I don't think this is the case. There was no money at the beginning. When I started out, I'd been putting up films for ages before there was any talk of monetization or anything like that. And not only that, if one is just starting out and one wants to have a career as a YouTube comedian, singer, cartoonist, whatever, then it's possibly better at the very beginning not to have advertisements. Now, as I said, I've got some pocket money coming in from it, but I believe that having ad-free content will ingratiate content suppliers with potential viewers. And with this in mind, if this is the case, and I'm now running the risk of being insulted no end, perhaps the threshold that YouTube has now set is too low. Well, anyway, what do you think on that one? Now, I still have got complaints about YouTube, and number one complaint is the way in which some seem to make claims automatically on ownership of content, which is not there. And this is due to a system which is built in YouTube when you upload a film, and somehow it's checked by some automatic I don't know what. Now, in my case, nearly all of my content's original, and the music is supplied by YouTube, or by a couple of times the creator as well. But at times I've used tourist films in which I use material which was supplied to me, and in nearly all cases, I would say, a claim's up immediately as soon as I've uploaded it, and nearly all of them seem to be in Italy. Now, the most ridiculous claim which I've had so far was from a film which I found in an archive. Now, I'm a historian, I specialise in the Second World War. I found this film of the Warsaw Ghetto in a film archive, and the Italian TV company RAI, the state-owned company, claimed ownership. Now, this is patently absurd, but I don't have time to stop fight their claim. Apart from that, I'm not going to start trying to get money from Holocaust films. Now, last week, for the first time ever, I contested a claim, and that was on receiving documents that the owner of the film has given me permission to use it and the soundtrack. So if my claim gets resolved in my favour, of course, not only will I report back on this, but I will be making claims on absolutely everything that claim has actually been put on my channel. Now, another thing I do have to mention as well is there are people who have done film reviews. So a film comes out, you do a review, and you've got little bits of things in there. Or it doesn't have to be a film that's come out. For example, some years ago I did some work on the British crime thriller Get Carter 1971, whereby I used scenes from the film and I showed what the areas look like in Newcastle today, or when I put the film up, which was nearly 40 years after the film was actually made. So I showed the changes in the urban environment in Newcastle, and I appreciate the fact that the film's owners put up an automatic claim, and I can't be bothered to fight it, even though I've only put up like 3-4 minute clips, if that. And I think that's well within my rights to do so. But it's not really worth the bother. But there have been channels which have got millions or tens of millions of views which have been hit by things like this, and it's very difficult for them to fight it. And one of the films is the channels is the film History Buffs, which is a very, very good one. Now, to give another idea of how these community guidelines and advertising doesn't seem to work very well, is the way they will automatically block things which they think don't meet their community guidelines. For example, in my case, just to give one or two examples, things that I've had banned have included an interview with the Albanian Minister of Tourism, a film of a dog by a lake, a waterfall in Austria, and various motorhome reviews. Now, these clearly are within YouTube's community guidelines. Again, they're trying it on. So, now, as most views happen when the film is actually released, you don't want this to affect your monetization. So it is not in YouTube's interest to actually block a film from being monetized and to stop it being monetized when it's got its best earning potential. Now, one thing that the creators, or one or two of my mates who are creators, so we complained about was how probably in 2008 and again in 2010 the algorithms were changed to favour big business. Although I do appreciate, of course, it's big business that pays for the service to run, but it was the little people like me, and above all my mate Uncle Davey, who you can see has got a channel called Usenet Posts. He started out at the very, very beginning. It was 6 months before I came in. So it's people like him which have made YouTube what it is today, and YouTube really ought to show some kind of gratefulness. Of course, I mean, they've only got a moral obligation because there's absolutely nothing that early creators can do to get back at them. Now, if we talk about me, for example, because everybody can actually have a look at things like this, but there's a site called Social Blade. Now, in terms of views, I'm in roughly 94,000th position, and I'm in 103,000th position in terms of subscribers. That put me in the global top 0.2%. So I've got so if you're in the the top 0.2%, I've got a camera out of it, which is nice, of course, but I've still got to eat, and I've still got to live. So the reason I'm saying this is just to make the point is that as things stand, you know what I mean, unless you're really brilliant, you're not really going to earn all that much money. Anyway, I have roughly 3/4 views per month, and okay, so puts it in. And my demographic, because I'm aiming this at older people, what I do, 2/3 of my viewers are over 55, so and 83% are male, so that's quite a good demographic to have. Now, to return to the original point, is how long does it take to reach 1,000 subscribers? If I remember correctly, I hit this at 2010. I think it was February 2010, if I remember rightly. So I started off in July 2006. It took me 4.5 years to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if those of you who want to earn enough money to buy yourself a Mars bar every month, and you can't do that until you've reached 1,000 subscribers, then it's going to take you 4.5 years to get there. Was that a rather long-winded way of saying something easy and straightforward? Maybe it was. So, anyway, what do you think? Is it worth monetization or not?